Okay, Success Nation, this is your host Michael Nguyen from asiansuccessmagazine.com, where successful entrepreneurs show you how they build a company and achieve success. My guest today, Linda Nguyen. Linda is a Chief Strategy Officer at New Centra. Previously, she worked in Vietnam as the General Director for Milano and Gucci, where she was responsible for strategy, process efficiency, and corporate reorganization. Linda has traveled over 23 countries and amassed over 4 degrees in finance, organizational behavior, human resources, and degree in entrepreneurship. You told me last time that you are working on another degree, right, Linda?
I was considering adding an MBA and an MS in a dual degree program at UNT for
Mm.
strategic management and organizational behavior.
All right. So, Linda, are you prepared to inspire?
I am so prepared. Bring
All
it.
right. I've given our listener just a little bit overview about you. So Linda, take a minute and tell us about you personally. We want to get to know you, and then give us an overview of your business.
Okay. About me personally, I've always been an advocate of education, and by nature, I'm a Sagittarius and a monkey in Chinese astrology. So I'm always on the go. I'm always looking for something new, something that inspires me. And I have a tendency to get bored very easily. So once I learn the ropes of a trade, it's like I try to climb and climb and climb to really know it inside out. And then afterwards, I would take everything that I learned and try to apply it in a different industry. So that's why when you look at my background, it's very, very diverse. My business, I recently started or I joined a technology startup. We have released a mobile application for food and restaurants. Imagine Match.com meets Netflix or Pandora meets Yelp. So here we have on websites, on mobile apps, you have a lot of restaurant recommendation engines, but you never really have a dish recommendation. So the problem that I have is whenever I go out to eat with my friends, it's we always spend a lot of time trying to figure out what somebody wants to eat because we all have different palates. I mean, there's a different personality for every type of food under the sun. You have some people that are vegan, some vegetarians, some people that don't eat pork, some don't eat beef, so on and so forth. So it's very difficult for us or my friends and I to find a place where we can collectively go and be satisfied. And therein enters Yobelly, which is the name of my mobile app.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So here at Agent Success Magazine, we start the show with the guest favorite success quote. It's a way of getting the motivation ball rolling. Linda, what's your favorite success quote, and how you apply this to
My
your
favorite success
everyday
quote is very
mentality?
short and succinct. It is no pain, no gain. And I learned that very, very, very early on as a child that you really have to exert a lot of energy, a lot of work into what you are aspiring to be or whatever it is you're trying to build. So every day that I wake up, I mean, I go out and deliberately look for pain. And I work to the point where it's beyond exhausting in everything that I touch.
Let's dive into our next topic. It's about your failure. We delve into the journey of our spotlight entrepreneurs, and for all entrepreneurs, somewhere in that journey lies failure. And Linda, tell us about a failure in your journey, starting with the events leading up to this failure.
The events leading up to this failure. About 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I had amassed my second degree and I was trying to decide what I was going to do with the rest of my life. So, whether I was going to stay in finance, because I spent 12 years in finance from everything of being a financial advisor on a personal basis to managing trading custodial accounts for JP Morgan. So, I was in finance for 12 years. I got tired. I decided, what am I going to do now? So I decided to go to law school. I applied to law school, tried to move down to Houston. And while I was down there, I got an interview or a position or an offer to work for Gucci and Milano in Asia. So here I was trying to decide between two choices, in a road that diverged between pursuing law school or going and managing a major fashion conglomerate overseas. And the choice at the time was very simple because I've always wanted to live abroad. And it was in Asia. It was in Vietnam, which is my native country. And so it was rather easy. I just packed up and went. When I got there, I mean, at the time when I lived in the States, I've been the managing director, run a few corporations here and there. I've managed very large teams. And so I thought it would be fairly simple to be able to build a company, an organization in Asia if we just apply the practices that we had here in the States to a growing corporation in Asia, in Vietnam. I did not know how difficult it would be. And this is where my biggest failure comes into play because the work ethic and the culture of Vietnamese people compared to those of Americans is very, very, very different. I had to deal with a lot of the politics, a lot of corruption, a lot of things that I just never mentally prepared myself for. And needless to say, it didn't work out.
So, what was the number one clear lesson you learned from this experience?
From this experience, I learned that if you're ever going to move abroad, if you're ever going to join a country where there is culture differences, for you to go through an acculturation process, for you to learn the people inside out, for you to learn that culture, the corporate environment inside out.
At some point in your journey, a light bulb came on and you said, aha, this is an awesome idea. So let's hear about the events leading up to your aha moment.
My aha moment was when I joined this tech startup. At the time, which was about maybe 7, 8 months ago, I had met with my sociology professor at UNT, and we were just talking about a business project that he had on the side. That project was working with dementia. So he brought me in, he told me some of the problems that they were faced with, and upon examining their situation and their environment and how they were competing, I joined the company as a chief strategy officer. And in learning about the technology they had on hand, I had an aha moment because their product at the time was trying to cater to 3 different sectors of retail, restaurant, and service. And my aha moment was if you have a personalization engine that strong, why don't we just apply it to one sector, to food? Because with this, we can change the world.
So, okay, what was the number one clear lesson you learned from the aha moment?
Well, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? And sometimes your aha moment, sometimes a realization you have may not be easily adopted by everybody else because whenever you talk about a movement, whenever you talk about changing the world, people look at you like you're crazy. Like they don't quite believe in what you're doing, and they're not accustomed to that type of thinking or that type of process because there's a condition and they're accustomed to what they're currently doing. They're accustomed to, like, say, for instance, in the restaurants and food industry, they're accustomed to being shown restaurants as opposed to being shown dishes.
That's awesome. Let's talk about your current business then. What is the number one thing that's really exciting you about your business today?
What's really exciting is that I really feel as though we are pushing the boundaries as far as food searches, just the food industry and the restaurant industry altogether. Because I think the way we look at food is going to be very different if we consider, a matchmaking service for matching a palate to a dish versus matching a person to a restaurant. Because when you show someone a restaurant, they get in there and sometimes they don't have that great experience that everybody talks about because they don't always order the right thing. Or maybe that day the food doesn't taste the same way as it does for everybody else. So with a matchmaking, I guess, personalization search engine, it's a lot easier to identify who your consumer should be, what should be on the menu for a restaurateur. And on the consumer basis, it's easier for you to identify the food that you like and where those restaurants are that have that type of food. And who, like within your circle or people that share the same palate as you and how they find their food.
We were gonna dive into more detail about later, but first of all, can you share a little bit about current status of Yobelly, how many downloads you have, and some of the achievements that Yobelly has over the years when the app was developed since?
Our app is very, very new. We've only been in the App Store for 8 weeks. We launched on November 4th, and I'm very pleased to say that we have cleared triple digits in daily downloads. And our marketing budget is very, very minimal. We're completely bootstrapped right now. So we're spending close to nothing when it comes to marketing. And all of the growth that we do have right now is is growing through word of mouth, is going through the food communities and also the tech and entrepreneurship communities and spreading through them.
Okay, that's awesome. Um, so what is your goal then? Since you have a limited marketing budget, how do you expand your reach to more and more foodie who wants who try to stay away from the old methodology of food matching between person and food and go to a new matchmaking methodology? How do you plan to do that?
From a marketing strategy basis, we are trying to co-market with chefs that are movers and shakers within the culinary industry, like underground dining, underground movements. For instance, Chef David Anthony Temple here in Dallas, Texas, he is on our board of food advisors. We do dinner giveaways where we partner with him, and he helps market Yobelly as well too. And then we're also co-marketing with different tech and entrepreneurship communities because we want to advocate for other startups and other entrepreneurs for their projects as well too. And we're trying to infiltrate the foodie communities, people that write about food, like food bloggers, just people that just love posting food pornography because they're the ones that go out there. They're the ones that are spending hours on end writing reviews about restaurants, writing reviews about food. They're the ones that really care. So we're trying to reach out to them. And nowadays with the internet, it's fairly easy. You don't have to spend massive amounts of dollars on like print media, anything of the sort. Because I mean, for instance, if you have like an awesome video and you post it onto YouTube, within like a week or two, you'll have like thousands, millions of hits if it appeals to the masses.
I see. You talk about some of the Facebook marketing last time. Do you have any success doing so, or optimize your Facebook ad or something like that?
Yeah, it's very interesting because it takes a lot of tweaking. A lot of tweaking, a lot of testing. You run a few different campaigns and you're like, this is not working. And then you just keep going back and back and you try to identify the different demographics that actually would click on the install app button. And it's been quite a journey trying to learn how to, I guess, socialize your app and how to market your app utilizing Facebook.
What tool did you use to do Facebook marketing besides the native Facebook tools that they have?
Um, you mean besides the install app and that kind of stuff that's pushed through to, is that what you're talking
Right.
about?
So besides the Facebook UI that I and you go out and bought all the advertisement, did you use any tool to help you manage the ad?
Well, we try to connect. We try to connect through our subscribers of our Yobelly fan page or business page on Facebook. We also use Twitter. We're looking into, I guess, paid tweets or whatnot. But I don't quite know how effective that is because we don't have a strategy to actually track the installs on that come through for Twitter.
Um, you mentioned earlier about the old methodology of matchmaking between person and food,
Yes.
and you saw some space for disruption with your new methodology. Can you tell us more about why the old model doesn't work and why your new model should be the way to go?
Well, I'm not saying that the old model does not work. What I'm saying is that it can be refined and it can be better because nowadays you have a lot of people with food restrictions. For instance, being vegan. And as we get older, we have certain dietary restrictions where we have to cut out lactose and we have to cut out carbs, or like some people have religious restrictions where they cut out like pork and beef or whatnot. And I've come to identify the problem as to be whenever you try to go out to eat with someone, or whenever someone tries to find a restaurant, they have to look at the menu, and that is what determines which restaurant they go to, and that determines how they eat. I have a friend that is, on a gluten-free diet. So whenever she goes to a Japanese restaurant, she can only eat salad with nothing on it because, I mean, there's gluten in soy sauce. And, practically, in most Japanese restaurants in America, I mean, I would say 60%, 70% of the menu has soy sauce in it. So it's very difficult. With our model, because we're allowing the restaurateurs to go in and profile their own dishes, and we're talking about 8 different dimensions of looking at food, from the cuisine type, dish type, preparation, presentation, flavor profile, texture restrictions, derived sensation, and then environmental aspect of the food. And so the consumer will know exactly what is in that food and what that food is about. And knowing that is kind of like matchmaking, in the sense that once you have a profile for a dish, you can pretty much find a similar profile of another dish under another cuisine. Like, say, for instance, if you like barbecue, fried rice in Chinese cuisine, and in your own consumer profile, you like tangy foods, then whenever you walk into a Korean restaurant, we'd naturally recommend for you to try a bibimbap, because the textures and then the presentation and then, the constituents of that particular dish is very similar.
Ah, I see. That's
Yes.
interesting. So you use the concept of Zodiac to
Yes.
as the avatar for your customers. How did you come up with that process, and what is the idea behind it?
It's a kind of a play on of Zodiac. We use a foodiac. Kind of like astrology, where you say whatever, horoscope sign you are. Like, for me, I'm a Sagittarius. Sagittarius have certain characteristics, like outgoing, very they get bored easily, and they're like fire signs. They're hot tempered, so whenever you're talking to someone and then you say, "Oh, I'm a Sagittarius," then people kind of identify, or they kind of know what being a Sagittarius means, right? Whenever you have the foodiac, or you try to apply the foodiac in your conversation about food, whenever you say whatever animal profile you are, based on how you eat and what you eat, people will know which category you fall into, and they're going to be able to identify, what you can eat, pretty much.
So let's
Well,
say,
it's like this. It's like whenever you go into Yobelly and you create your profile, it's like going onto a Match.com or eHarmony website and creating a profile on there. But instead of matching you to a person, we match you to a dish. Like, for instance, if you like someone that's tall, educated, between a certain age or whatever, instead of putting down those parameters, you would tell me that, oh, I like to eat Japanese food. I like to eat French food. I have whatever dietary restrictions. I like sweet foods. I like sour foods. I like crunchy foods. I like stuff that, makes your nasals burn, that have wasabi in it. I like stuff that is like locally sourced, depending on whatever your preferences are. And then for us, within our database, we'll try to filter out those dishes that match that particular profile. And that is on a very, very high level of personalization. If you're not into that kind of stuff, if you really just want to eat something sweet, then you can just go in and say you want sweet foods, and then we'll show you all the sweet foods that are in your area, in your specified radius.
I think I can relate to it because every time I try to find new place to eat and reading and tons of review about that restaurant, and at the end of the day, I still don't know what
Exactly.
I should try.
Another problem is that a lot of these reviews, you never know whether they're paid for or not, because it's very easy for you to contact a company in a third world country and say, hey, I want you to write negative reviews about my competitor, but write great reviews, raving reviews about me, right? So sometimes for me, I had that problem, which is why I was able to identify, or the problem with the way I guess people find food nowadays, right? So, for instance, if I'm looking for xiaolongbao or like soup dumplings or whatnot here in Dallas, Texas, I can tell you there are 9 restaurants that have soup dumplings. So I would go on Yelp and I would try to find these 9 restaurants. But then once you find those 9 restaurants that have it, it's like, who's reviewing this stuff? I mean, have they had a decent soup dumpling before to even know what a soup dumpling is supposed to taste like? Um, and sometimes, you don't know who's writing them, so you don't know the validity of it. But with Yobelly, you'll be able to see people that share the same palate as you, that have the same preference in food as you, rate and review dishes. So, for instance, if you go into a steakhouse, right, and you see people go online, regular websites, whatever, and say, oh, well, the food here is horrible, blah, 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 whatever. But then it's like, who's reviewing that? Maybe it's a vegetarian that's reviewing it, but why would you care what a vegetarian feels or how they feel about a steakhouse?
So that's why you use the Zodiac. Let's say I'm a dragon, and then people would more likely to listen to a dragon Zodiac like me than listen to like some what's that? What's the other Zodiac that you have again?
We have pandas, we have gazelles, we have
There you
lions.
go, a
I'm a
panda
bear.
or gazelle.
Yes, I am a
Oh,
bear. I
okay.
eat everything and anything at least once.
I
Yes.
see. I see. Also, that's why they will find the review more helpful from Yobelly standpoint.
Yes, they'll be able to filter out the reviews and see the reviews by people that share their palate, that eat like them and prefer foods like them.
I see. I see. Huh. So, what is your goal of, let's say, I for new users when they download your app? What is the the dream come true experience that you hope your users will have after they use your app?
The ideal user experience for when someone downloads the app would be for them to find the recommendations that we give them very useful. Like, know that whatever dish it is that comes across their screen is going to be a dish that is fitting for them on a taste, you know, and palate preference, or it meets all their dietary restrictions. And we're not recommending, I guess, crap to them, to say the least. And they
I
would
see.
continue to use it over and over again.
How do you go against the trend that majority of that, right? Yelp is a public company now, and they have thousands of employees, and the review trend is dominating the whole food industry and restaurant industry. How do you go against that review trend, um, and then use the Zodiac and use another metrics to measure the experience instead of using the review?
We're not going against the review trend. We're actually giving them another mechanism to review even better. Because right now, Yelpers, the elite ones or whatnot, I mean, they're writing paragraphs. I mean, I don't know if you've read them, but I mean, a lot of this is very, labor intensive to write. It's like 2, 3 paragraphs at a time to review a restaurant. But, whenever they describe their experience, I mean, they don't really go into detail about the food itself. A lot of it is about the restaurant. And within Yobelly, you can rate and you can review the restaurant, but you can also rate and review the food as well too. And it's
Ah,
easy because when you go into the restaurant, you can select the dish and you can see the reviews about that dish, as opposed to when you go onto Yelp, you see the restaurant. But if you want to find the reviews about a particular dish, you would have to scroll through pages and pages and pages of reviews to find one that is applicable to whatever dish you're thinking and you're searching for.
I see.
So this only gives the reviewers a better way to verbalize their opinion of their experience at the restaurant and the food that they've had.
Tell me about your plan to monetize the app. I know there's a free app, and of course you want to monetize it in some way or
Yes,
somehow. So, do you want to share with the audience?
that would be ideal. This is a for-profit company, so it's not a non-profit company. We have three constituencies for Yobelly. We have the users, who are the consumers. We have the restaurateurs, and then we have the advertisers. Our main source or our primary source of revenue is going to be through in-app advertising. Our secondary source is going to come through the restaurateurs with the in-app services that we're going to have. Like, for instance, menu management is going to be free of charge. I mean, they can just come in and they can manipulate their menu however they see fit, but they will pay a fee for posting deals, coupons, getting metrics, very, very informative metrics that can better tailor their marketing campaign and reach more consumers, and better understand who their consumers are to be able to effectively manage their menu. For the in-app advertisers, um, it'd be because we have geolocation technology nowadays. It's very easy for the advertisers and for us to see, if you love Italian food and you're within the vicinity of an Italian restaurant, and say, for instance, an Italian restaurant is one of the advertisers, they can push to the consumer, hey, don't forget about us. We're just right around the corner from you. Or we can also push to people that like particular types of food, like Chinese food. We can push to those people that have like coupons and deals or whatever. It can be, the restaurateur can also be an advertiser as well too within the app. And they can push
Gotcha.
out their coupons and their deals, which are happening right now with other apps, but we're kind of like an all-in-one kind of app. But those are projects and those are developments that are in the product roadmap that are going to be developed over time. So we don't have those functions just yet, but when we gain enough downloads and we have a large enough user, I guess, database, then we can begin to, understand what the user wants and what to give them.
I see. My favorite part of the show, we will enter the call the lightning round, where we'll provide you with a series of questions and you come back at us Success Nation style with amazing and mind-blowing answers. Sound like a plan? So what was holding you back from becoming an entrepreneur then?
Oh no, nothing's ever held me back from being an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. I think sometimes, you become complacent because you fall into a comfort zone. And that's exactly what happened when I was in the finance industry. There was a lot for me to learn in finance. There was a lot of great opportunity. I did not step out of that to be an entrepreneur because I was too involved and too immersed in learning about finance and trying to climb that corporate ladder. So it wasn't something that held me back. I mean, I think after I stepped out of corporate America, that's when I realized that, it's time to do something for myself and have my own business.
I see.
Yes.
What is the best advice that you ever received?
The best advice I ever received. This is going to be from one of my mentors when I was a bond trader, and that was when the tough when is what is it? How's it go? I forget. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And it's like, when everything seems to be bleak and you're feeling very pessimistic, just keep your head down and just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. And eventually, things will just start turning out right for you eventually. But just don't lose hope and just have faith in your ability.
What was the experience that, just share with the audience one of your example about that experience using the best advice that you had and then you turn around the situation and came out good.
Well, we're going to have to apply this to the failure that I had in Asia. I think it was very, very difficult for me to communicate, even though Vietnamese is my native language, but I was not able to speak it as advanced and as well with the embedded lingo of a native Vietnamese person. So that was very, very difficult for me. And even then, I heard that same advice again from the person that owned the company over there. And that was just to keep my head down and just keep doing whatever and just, not listen to all the noise that was going on around me. Because when I was there, I was a general director, and it was very difficult to not, I guess, lose sight of the reason why I was there. Um, I don't want to say anything bad about the company, but there's a lot going on, and it was very difficult to not be involved with politics, but just to try to keep to myself and just try to execute my jobs and my duty to the best of my ability.
Can you share with the audience one of your personal habits that you believe contribute to your success?
I am a bit on the obsessive compulsive side, meaning that if I do something, I do it to the best of my ability, and I kind of obsess over it. And that has surprisingly kind of paved the way for a lot of the opportunities that have come my way. And when I say that I'm obsessed about certain things, I mean, we're talking about just things like, following up with people, always being on top, doing, diligent research with every industry that I step into, to the point where I have to learn it inside out. When I say inside out, I mean like inside out, as opposed to, I guess, laying low and just, trying to get information here and there. I think that's one of my best habits and also one of my worst habits because I would eat, live, and breathe whatever it is that I'm researching or learning at the
Wow.
time.
So the power of so you're very consistent then. You just keep digging until you achieve the result that you set out
Yeah,
from the beginning.
it's obsession, like if it's applied correctly, it will yield some positive results. But at the same time, it's bad because my health does suffer very, very often because I don't sleep because I spend too much time working.
Do you have an internet resource like Evernote that you are in love with and you would like to share with our listeners?
My favorite internet resource is pretty much the same as a lot of the people in the world, and that's Google. I Google everything, everything you can think of. I Google it. And that is, because there's Google, that is how I'm able to um, find as much information and do my research and learn so much in such a short amount of time.
Something like you bookmark some of the resource, some of the tool that you use and you bookmarked, something that you can share with the audience beside Google. I know that I know how to use Google as well.
Oh yeah. Um, no, I think that's it. I don't really use anything else like that I really love, love, love. I mean, I've tried using Evernote, but I just, I never really latched onto it or liked it very much. And previously I was a PC girl, and when I joined the tech startup, they kind of condemned me for not having, any
Mac.
Apple Mac products, right? It took me a long time to figure that out, and I was just like, this is so difficult because for like 33 years I use a PC, and all of a sudden I convert to an Apple, to a MacBook, and they're like, it's a lot easier. I'm like, no, it's not. So since I've been on this MacBook, and since I've started this tech startup, I don't really use anything else. But Google, I mean, I don't have that many applications on here, but the very basic ones. And as far as like, business is concerned, no, I use very basic tools. There's really nothing that I can recommend. I'm so sorry.
No problem, no problem, no problem.
I'm sorry.
Um, well, usually because they have some set of tools and links that are really good, or services that they use on the business. Then I
Like,
mean
what are
that
some
might.
examples? I mean, I use a lot of different links and a lot of different tools, but there's not one that really stands out to me though, at all. Like, what's your
the-
favorite one?
For,
Evernote?
for example, to before that, I used to schedule my interview by hand, and then I manually remind my guests, when the interview is up, maybe an hour, a day before or an hour before. But you know that I use a service called ScheduleOnce.com to help me do all the scheduling automatically.
Really? I saw that.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. No, you know what I use? I use a lot of all of the different products that are available on Google. And very ironically, um, Google Docs was, I guess, kind of related to one of the companies that was sold or acquired by the engineers in my company called Quick Office.
Oh.
So I live and breathe for Google Docs, and I use their calendar. I just use everything, all Google, all day, every day.
um, so if you could recommend a so if you could recommend a book to our listeners, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, I have so many favorite books. I am a bookworm. I think one of my favorite books is, God, there's so many to choose from. I really like Tuesdays with Maury. I really like The Alchemist a lot. Actually, that's probably going to be one of my favorite books, The Alchemist, because it's such a short read, but the message is very, very, very powerful.
The Alchemist?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm a very big fan of Ayn Rand. So Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead. Those are like a little bit more difficult to read because they're about this thick.
Wow.
But they're great, great books.
Okay, Success Nation, if you haven't already, you can get the audio version of this book, The Alchemist, or any book you want for free by going to asiansuccessbook.com. That is asiansuccessbook.com.
Oh, yay.
Okay, Linda, this next question is the last question of the lightning round, but it's kind of doozy. Um,
Doozy.
im- Imagine
Feel
if
like a lightning
you
round because like I was talking so slow.
so imagine if you woke up tomorrow morning
Okay.
and in a brand new world,
Okay.
okay, identical to Earth, but you knew nobody, okay? You still have all the experience and all the knowledge that you currently have,
Okay.
but your food and shelter are already taken care of, and but all you have is a laptop, your Mac, and $500.
Okay.
All you have is the laptop
Okay.
and $500.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what would you do in the next 7 days?
For the next 7 days, and I would try to look for the locals and live like the locals wherever it is I'm at. And that is actually my travel philosophy is to live like locals and eat like locals. Like try to walk a day in their shoe to see what they're exposed to and what their environment is like.
Alright, so Linda, we truly enjoy listening to your journey and all the story you share with our um, audience today. Uh, give Success Nation one parting piece of guidance and share the best way that we can find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
A parting piece of advice is that if you want to find food that is fitting for you and the people that you're going to go out to eat with, please download Yobelly. We're available in iOS and Android. You can find us on www.yobellyapp.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook using the Yobelly app handle. That's my advice, and that's also my little plug.
So Success Nation is well aware of that they can find links to everything that we mentioned in today's episode by going to asiansuccessmagazine.com and finding Linda Nguyen in the archives. Linda, thank you so much for being generous with your time, your expertise, and your experience. Success Nation salutes you, and we catch you on the other side.
Thank you so much for having me. And also, I want to leave the audience with my personal motto, which is to eat, drink, live, laugh, be merry, then eat some more.